Hey everyone, it's Yggdrasiel, and I hope you all have been having a wonderful end of 2022. The year has come and gone, but here we are. It has been honestly a very good one for me, and a very good one I have a general sense for just gaming in general. We've had such a wide array of games this year that have just in all genres, honestly. It's been such a fantastic year in terms of gaming, and we had the Game Awards last week, which had a lot of new reveals to look forward to in the next few years to come. So, to that end, though, the Game Awards had me think, and especially with seeing a lot of other people give off their favorite games that they had the chance to play this year, I thought I might do the same. So, in this video, I'm going to be telling you guys my top 5 games that I had the chance to play in 2022. These are not specifically titles that released this year, just games that if they're on my bucket list or if I was already playing them and they're an ongoing title and I just really enjoyed it, those are the kinds of games that I want to share with you all. Who knows, maybe you guys might give one of them a shot, or you might find a game that you liked that I also liked and we can gush about it in the comments, something like that. So without further ado, they are 5 in all. The last one is the only one that I'm going to put as number 1. The rest are in no particular order. It's very difficult for me to sum one up over the other, but I bet you can all guess what is number 1 in my book for this year. And I also have an honorable mention that I am going to be starting with because, well, you'll see why. Let's go. So our honorable mention is going to be Genshin Impact. I know, biting the bullet first up, because even within communities of people who call themselves huge anime fans, Genshin Impact is a hotly debated title. People typically either love it or they hate it with every fiber of their being, and there's very few people left in the middle ground. Well, hello, I'm someone from the middle ground, because although I very much do enjoy a lot of aspects of this game, it's often more about being level-headed with everything about it, really. And even if you dislike Genshin Impact, it is hard to argue against the fact that this is ultimately a free title with consistent high-quality updates and boasts this huge Breath of the Wild-esque world that just continues to grow and host its own well-put stories, at least for side quests and NPCs. The main story had its fumbles in last year's release of Inazuma, the game's take on a Japanese region, and Hoyoverse, the company behind the game, are particularly stubborn when it comes to character designs and handing out free currency specifically, but this year's release boasting Sumeru, a gorgeous zone encompassing South Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa, including my ethnic country of Egypt, new elements, beautiful music, as well as honestly such an upgrade in the quality of the main story. This has been a delight to log into each day and just play. To that end, if you are on the fence or have been dissuaded against playing it by people who are dead set on hating it, I want to encourage you to at least try the game out, even if it's not your particular cup of tea. Who knows, you might at least find the combat system interesting, or take some time and enjoy a few hours of exploring the initial zone of Mondstadt. But that's enough of what I have to say on that. Let's move on to the main top 5 games that I had the pleasure of playing this year. Again, in no particular order, save for the very last one. Final Fantasy XIV. Now, this is a game I technically started playing last year. I actually made my 3rd attempt to play the game just before the large World of Warcraft exodus that happened in summer of that year. Sure enough, 3rd time's the charm, and I fell absolutely in love with the game. In fact, my profile picture is a fan art of my very own Warrior of Light, Wulfric Armstrong. Now, I played the game heavily until I beat the brilliant main story of Endwalker, its most recent expansion, by around Christmas time of last year. So, going into this year, you may ask why I'd continue to play a game where I've already finished the story. And that's because of the simple fact that Final Fantasy XIV is a game that has been made so that just about everything that is ever introduced into it is evergreen. That means that while there's nearly a decade of main story to go through, There's also nearly a decade of side raids, crafting and profession systems, smaller grinds, fashion accessories, side quests, and much, much more that I've put to the side in my pursuit of the main story, and it's just now staring me back in the face. What's more, much like the last title I mentioned, the Final Fantasy XIV team is incredibly good at giving consistently paced, high-quality patches with a plethora of new content and quality of life changes for older content as well. And the game only ever requiring you to have just the one character to experience everything it has to offer is just the cherry on top. I've had an absolute blast going through all of the content I've saved up on so far, and as much as a meme as it is within the community, you can play the game for free up until the end of Heavensward. That's 60 levels of content and 40% of the main story with no barrier. So if you're interested, go give it a check, and if you join the Primal Data Center, give me a shout out. We're going to stray from anime games for a bit with our next title being the most recent home console entry for Kirby. And what a wonderful adventure that this one was. It may honestly be one of my favorite Kirby games in years. I mean, what other series could turn something as dour as a post-apocalyptic setting and just make it bright and cheery, brimming with joy, and give it the charm that only Kirby can? All of the zones are well thought out, and although there's nothing that's truly groundbreaking in the combat or exploration departments, each of those levels want you to constantly keep going. They throw you a bunch of different ideas in rapid succession with quirks that are easy to pick up on but very fun to control. Waddle Dee Town is also a very fun and adorable hub zone that I love to see in games, especially when they have this kind of hub grow along with your journey, which is precisely what they did here, giving you more things to do, small mini games here and there, a coliseum to refight bosses, and even a little collectathon for the minifigures. If this is just a precedent of the formula that they want to move forward with for Kirby games while retaining Kirby's main charm, I am very excited for the next entry. Red Dead Redemption 2. Quite a stark departure from the style of games I've been discussing so far, I'm sure, but Red Dead Redemption has always been a game that I've wanted to try. It's just that I never had any consoles other than Nintendo ones growing up, so I never had the opportunity to play through the first game. So when this entry became available on PC, and my fiance, who loved the original, told me that this one didn't require playing the previous game to enjoy it, I was on board. And with her looking over my shoulder for every dumb little mistake that I made, I had a ton of fun with it. While I always have gripes with the way you control your characters in Rockstar games, which has led to a lot of silly predicaments with my horse or me accidentally maiming civilians, there can be no denying the spectacle that this game has brought to the table. Highly polished interactions, vistas that I'd swear were postcard perfect, a variety of small events, stories, and missions, all paired up with a great main cast that has a lot of history that you can tap into if you wanted to feel that level of immersion, instead of just hustling through the main campaign. Red Dead Redemption 2 sat on my bucket list for the last few years, and I am very glad that I had the opportunity to play through it this year. Elden Ring. The latest gem out of From Software this year was a phenomenon. I can't even recall the last time there was this near universal fervor among the Western audience before Elden Ring's announcement trailer back in 2019. Cyberpunk 2077 comes to mind, but I still feel like Elden Ring was a far stronger hype. I've always enjoyed the weighty depth of combat that Souls games provide to me, as it's akin to many of the older Monster Hunter titles when they weren't as forgiving. And I know there are many people who don't like the approach that Souls games have with regards to storytelling, and that's fine, but I personally love the idea of a very loosely fitting narrative built within this world, the lands between, that the player is then free to fully explore and reach their own conclusions with. And the game provides ample moments of telling the story through the environment, the music, the boss confrontations. Whether it was sneaking through one of the castles or the forests, roaming across great plains, spelunking into several crypts and mining facilities, or fighting dragons in lands beset by blight, I really just had a lot of fun everywhere that the Lands Between offered. My only problem is some of the scaling with mobs in later zones was a little bit ridiculous, but hey, skill issue, am I right? Those of you who know me by now definitely saw this one coming for miles and miles away, but yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my number one game that I had the pleasure to play this year. I can and have gushed about this game for hours and hours on end. While some parts of the story left me a little bit wanting, as a whole, the world building in the main group in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was just the best that I've seen out of the Xenoblade series and should be a benchmark game for JRPGs in my personal opinion, of course. Each of the main characters have several arcs of growth that's afforded because you have the cast for the bulk of the game, and they are supported by a narrative that gets put through multiple different lenses and viewpoints by a very large and overall well-written supporting cast. Many of the systems incorporated into the game were based off of lessons learned from the prior titles, and while there are definitely some misses like the rank 10 gen grind or near uselessness of gold, so many other aspects of the game are just so amazing, really. The music, heroes, side quests, exploration, combat, loadout customization, quality of life features, story elements and motifs from past titles, the journey I had playing through it with you guys as I streamed it here on YouTube, all of these were just so grand, and I really truly loved and enjoyed every moment of it. For such a defining journey in my gaming career, there is no doubt that the number one game that I played in 2022 was Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And there we have it. Those are my favorite games that I had the opportunity to play through this year. I well and truly hope that this year is concluding nicely for all of you that have been watching, and please let me know down below what were your favorite games that you had the chance to try out this year. Speaking of the end of the year, that actually means that I'm nearing 1 full year since making this channel, and what a journey that has been. I hope to have a video prepared for that, but this is where I'm going to love you and leave you all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I truly cherish each and every single one of you guys. Also, please consider following me on Twitter in the link down below, where I'm far more active. And until next time, I hope you all have a great day.